Hello, Steve White, Steve White's 89. Well, I had the pleasure recently over the last few days of watching the original Thundercats, all 130 episodes, and I actually realised I'd never watched the second season, although I bought it on DVD. I never actually watched the whole series. I thought I had, but I hadn't. So I had this gift of 65 new episodes, and it was really wonderful. I really enjoyed it. And then I thought afterwards, well, I'll have a look at the 2011 series because I was aware of it, but I haven't actually really seen it. Now, I was aware of it through the toys pretty much because I found the toys at the reject shop, which is like a $2 shop like the Dollar Tree or whatever, because that's where they went because they didn't sell. And I got all the main characters. They had two different scales, and I got all of them in one scale. I got Lino, Tigra, Chitara, Panthro, and little skinny Mummy Mumra. I think that's Lino's dad. Who else? We had a little Snarf that seems out of scale, but whatever. He'd be way too small if he was in scale. And Mumra. And my Mumra has some issues, but I'll go into that later. Okay, so the question with the series, well, was it any good and why did it end? Because originally it was designed to be a full season of 52 episodes. They cut it down to 26, and then they cancelled it, and it never got a second season, of course, and people were kind of confused. It was kind of a little bit like Masters of the Universe, the 2002 series, where people expected it to keep going, and it didn't. Now, was it any good? It was good. It was quality. It was well written. It was well produced. The animation was good, all that. But it did that thing which a lot of remakes and reboots do, which is a huge mistake. They seem to act on the assumption that there was something wrong with the original. Even though the original is legendary and has a fan base and has, been successful and continued literally for decades, these people still seem to think there's something wrong with it and it needs to be fixed or changed. It needs to be something else to be better because it's not good enough. There's something wrong with it, or they're embarrassed by the original. They're too good to just continue the original show. They have to, fix it and make it better. And in this case, their idea of better was making it Lord of the Rings. Because when you watch this show, they changed it dramatically. It's not the Thundercats, escaping the dying planet and being stuck on Verd Earth alone and battling these, the mutants and that. It's basically a war. You've got the mutants and the Thundercats, and it's just like Lord of the Rings with armies and everything, and it's very serious, very dark. There's absolutely no fun, except for that episode where Tiger was being crazy. There's no fun at all. It's just miserable. I mean, as far as kids and wanting entertainment and adventure and escapism and everything like that, it doesn't really work. It's more of an adult show. It's serious. It's dark. It's made by cynical people, not people who can inspire kids to actually want to watch the show or be in that world. So yes, it was a good show, but it was made more for adults, and that was where they sort of failed. They made it more for adults in a cynical sort of need to improve this sort of way. So I don't think it really appealed to the original fans. It appealed to more a generic audience, I think. And this is, like I said, most modern remakes and reboots make this sort of mistake. So it didn't really translate well to kids, but they didn't really engage in it. And the other issue is the toys just weren't that great. Not only were they too small, but they're just really flimsy and fragile. Like, I just broke my Mumra. Okay, his wings. Now, this one never closes, and the other one, you can't open it. I have no idea how they're supposed to open. There's no button. There's no nothing to make it open. And there's too many pieces. Like here, there's 3 parts for the wing. There needs to just be 2 solid parts. But instead, you get just too many parts, too complicated, too fragile. It all makes it more fragile and complicated, and it just broke on me. So, I mean, who wants to play with stuff like this that is, like I said, it's too complicated. They come apart, like all the bits come off, like, all these, just all the bits, and like he's got like armbands here. Instead of just painting them on, they've got separate parts. You're going to lose them in about 2 minutes. The originals, they were simple, they were basic, they were chunky. You could throw them around, have fun with them. You could play with them. These, they're more for collectors to sit on a shelf. That's just, It just didn't appeal to kids. Kids didn't engage. Kids didn't buy it. They didn't make the money on the merchandise they wanted, so they cancelled the show. I think it's that simple. There may have been some politics with some of the other brands and Lego and stuff like that I've heard about. But basically what it comes down to is the show wasn't fun for kids. The toys weren't fun for kids. It's a pity because much like the 2002 He-Man, it is a good show, and that show was far closer to the original He-Man than Thundercats is closer to Thundercats. And yeah, they did that thing that all these people do when they make a reboot or a sequel or whatever. They think there's something wrong with the original that needs to be fixed or changed, and they just copy something else thinking that that's going to make it better. And that's what they did here, and that was the mistake. It's more like Lord of the Rings than Thundercats. It's still good in its own way, but it's not what people wanted, so I can see why it didn't last.